Here is the recap of the first and second seasons of The Wheel of Time. The series has a lot of characters, locations, terms, and events from the past. I will try not to throw everything at you at once as it is done in the series and give out gradually. However, at first it will still be quite difficult. Moiraine is a sorceress from the female order of Aes Sedai, as well as her warder Lan, many years trying to find a child from a specific prophecy. For 20 years they have not found him, and one day they arrive in a small village, where it turns out that the description of the Chosen One fits 4 teenagers. Rand is a kid who lives away from the settlement with his father. Perrin is the local blacksmith. Mat is a sneaky thief. And Egwene is a young woman who has been feeling for a long time that she can use magic, the so-called One Power. These teens have been friends since childhood, and Rand and Egwene even have feelings for each other. However, Nynaeve, a sort of leader of the village, wants to make her his successor, but then she is not allowed to have a man. Moiraine tries to figure out which of the teenagers is the chosen one from the prophecy, but they all fit the description in one way or another. At night, the village is attacked by the monster Trollocs, and the sorceress manages to defeat them. In this battle, Rand's father is killed. Nynaeve, the village leader, is dragged away by the monsters, and Perrin accidentally kills his wife after mistaking her for a monster. Moiraine tells the main characters that the Trollocs have come for them, as there is a prophecy of Dragon Reborn, and orders them to follow her if they want the monsters not to destroy their village. After that, the main characters head east to the White Tower, where the Order of Aes Sedai will figure out what to do with them next. Soon the main characters begin to have strange dreams, and Moiraine tells them of a prophecy. Several thousand years ago, people created a great civilization and used magic, the so-called One Power, at their own will. The strongest wizard with the title Dragon imagined himself almost a god and decided to enslave the darkness itself. You could say to destroy the concept of evil itself. However, he failed, and darkness desecrated the One Power, which led, roughly speaking, to Armageddon. Women from the Order of Aes Sedai, servants of all being, were able to stop the Dark One, the embodiment of evil in this world, but did not destroy it. There is a legend that the dragon will be reborn and kill the Dark One, but another outcome is possible. They could unite and destroy all life. After the desecration of the One Power, only women can use magic. If any man starts using magic, he will go crazy. Therefore, one of the tasks of Aes Sedai is to hunt down such men and cut their connection to the power. Meanwhile, the Trollocs, led by the Fades, servants of the Dark One, overtake the main characters and injure Moiraine. So the group has to hide in a cursed city, where once for some reason all the people disappeared, and now no one lives there. Mat finds the dagger and takes it for himself, although they were ordered not to touch anything. At night, the main characters are attacked by some darkness that destroys everything in its path, and they have to split up. From here on, the story will run parallel until they all meet again. So for convenience, I will tell the storylines separately. Mat and Rand walk east to the White Tower, where they hope to meet up with their friends. They reach a small settlement where they decide to take a break. They are soon attacked by a woman who is a follower of the Dark One, and she orders them to go with her. However, they are saved by a bard named Tom, who turns out to be not as simple as he seems. Soon the main characters notice that Mat is acting strangely, and possibly starts using magic. However, as we know, men go crazy if they touch the power. One night they discover that Mat has disappeared somewhere and find him in a house full of corpses. Suddenly they are attacked by the Fade, and Tom orders the teenagers to run away. They manage to escape, and the fate of the bard is unknown to us. Rand suspects that Mat, using the Force, began to go crazy, but does not want to believe it. A month later they reach the city where the White Tower is located. But Rand decides not to go to the Aes Sedai yet, as they will cut off Mat's connection with the power, and that equals death. Perrin and Egwene decide to continue their journey to the east, and soon they are pursued by wolves. Moreover, Perrin, for some unknown reason, has some connection with the wolves, and the main characters realize that the beasts are not hunting them, but leading them in a certain direction. After a while, they stumble upon a local nomadic people who follow the way of the leaf. Roughly speaking, they are pacifists, and do not tolerate violence. Perrin is still suffering because he killed his wife, and he also wants to follow the way of the leaf. After a month of traveling, they reach the White Tower, but are caught by the White Cloaks, an order that considers the Aes Sedai to be witches. They execute all women who can channel the power, and believe that Egwene is also capable of witchcraft. Valda, the leader of the White Cloaks, starts to torture Perrin to get the Egwene to confess, but suddenly they both use their powers. Perrin summons wolves and the main characters manage to escape from captivity. After that, they reach the city where the White Tower stands. The wounded Moiraine and her warder Lan meet Nynaeve, who has escaped from the Trollocs' captivity. Nynaeve does not trust the sorceress, but treats her wounds, as she too has a little skill in channeling the power. Nynaeve joins the sorceress in her search for main characters, and soon they meet a squad of Aes Sedai. It turns out that they have found a man who uses the One Power, who calls himself a reborn dragon. Moiraine realizes that he is a false dragon because he is not the right age. But he has unprecedented strength, and at first glance can resist madness. However, the man eventually breaks free from the shackles of Aes Sedai and kills several women of the Order. It would seem that the main characters will die, but Nynaeve intuitively uses a power that no one has seen in centuries. The Aes Sedai cut off the false dragon's connection to the power, and Moiraine begins to suspect that it is Nynaeve who is the true reborn dragon, but does not tell her sisters. We also learn that the bond between Aes Sedai and her warder is so strong that if a sorceress dies, her man can't take it and would rather kill himself. A month later, Moiraine, Lan, and Nynaeve reach the White Tower. The sorceress warns the Nynaeve to beware of the Aes Sedai, as they are coming by to drag her into their intrigues. She soon learns that the other main characters have also arrived in town, but doesn't share this information with everyone. For starters, she visits Rand and Mat, where she discovers that Mat is imbued with a dark power. Moiraine guesses that the same dagger from the Cursed City is to blame, after which she sucks out Mat's corruption. However, she informs Rand that now the boy will always lean to the dark side, and must never touch the dagger again. Sometime later, she meets with Perrin and Egwene, where she learns that the boy can communicate with wolves. She advises her not to tell anyone about it, as the other Aes Sedai will want to kill him. Moiraine and the other sorceresses are summoned to the head of the Order of Aes Sedai, Siuan Sanche. She is not happy that the false dragon was separated from the power and not brought to the White Tower for trial as they were ordered to do. Siuan Sanche tries to find out what Moiraine has been doing all these years, but she won't tell, calling it a secret. The head of the Order banishes Moiraine from the White Tower. At night, it turns out that Moiraine planned the whole thing. She has a close relationship with Siuan Sanche. Only the two of them know about Moiraine's secret mission, to find the reborn dragon and defeat the Dark One. Exile is necessary to keep the other Aes Sedai from digging deeper and following her. Moiraine gathers the rest of the main characters, and together they travel to the Eye of the World, where the Dragon Reborn will have to fight the Dark One. But since it is not yet clear which of the teens is the dragon, she takes them all. The Enchantress decides to take a shortcut and go through the ways. A magical network of corridors was created once upon a time, but the darkness has made this place dangerous. Everyone goes inside. However, Mat decides to stay and the passageway closes. And at the end of the season, he returns to the Cursed City. Meanwhile, Moiraine forbids sorcery inside the ways, but suddenly they are attacked by Trollocs and one of the main characters uses the power. This causes them to be chased by the Black Wind, causing the group's deepest fears. Nynaeve creates a shield of light and the main characters manage to escape in time. The main characters reach a town that has guarded the frontier for centuries against the darkness and its manifestation of desolation. Moiraine asks the local seer to tell the future of the teenagers to see which of them is the dragon reborn. The woman doesn't see it, but informs her that each of the characters is important to the Great Pattern. The pattern in this universe is something like destiny, and some people are marked by the thread, meaning they are important to the fate of the entire world. Moiraine tells the main characters that only the dragon can survive in the Eye of the World, and all the others will simply die. She gives them one last chance to change their minds and leaves. Afterwards, the teens quarrel. Meanwhile, Nynaeve has had feelings for Lan. Moiraine guards throughout the season and sleeps with him. Eventually, the main characters decide to sacrifice themselves and go to fight the Dark One. However, Rand suddenly realizes that he is the Dragon Reborn and throughout the season finds himself using the power. He comes to Moiraine, and in order to protect his friends, just the two of them go to the Eye of the World. We are also told that Rand is an Aiel. Roughly speaking, this is a strong warrior race. Rand's mother died in battle but gave birth to a child, and he was picked up by a warrior from the opposite side, then raised him as his own. The Dark One's army began to gather troops and attacked the last frontier of humanity. They broke through the wall, but the incredibly strong Nynaeve and the other characters destroyed the villain's army. Nynaeve, having used too much of the power, begins to die, but Egwene manages to heal her. Meanwhile, the Dark One's servants infiltrate the castle. Padan Fain, who has appeared here and there throughout the season, kills the guards and steals from under Perrin's nose the artifact of the Horn of Valere, which in the past has helped the humans defeat the Dark One. Soon, Moiraine and Rand reach the Eye of the World. The Dark One appears in his human form and separates Aes Sedai from her power, making her an ordinary human. He tries to bend Rand to his side, but he resists and casts out the evil. However, he breaks the seal that restrains the darkness. After that, we are given to understand that the Dark One has planned everything, and all 5 main characters will be important in the future fate of mankind, and it is not known what side they will choose, light or darkness. Having won this battle, Rand begins to hear the words of madness as the other men channel the power. He asks Moiraine to tell the others that he is dead, and leaves for an unknown destination. Meanwhile, we see a huge fleet of an unknown army, whose sorceresses create giant waves. This is the end of the first season. Like last season, the main characters' paths split, and for the most part do not cross. So I'm going to tell their stories separately, so as not to confuse you. The man that Rand freed in the previous season was not actually the Dark One, but Ishamael, one of his minions, the so-called Forsaken. All of them were sealed at one time, and an awakened Ishamael found all of those seals. However, he is in no hurry to free them, because in the past, even though they have been on the same side, they have often feuded with each other. Ishamael travels to the neighboring nation of the Seanchan, who were driven from this land centuries ago. He arranged everything so that these violent people returned and began to systematically conquer the new territory, including the city of Falme, where the Dragon Reborn is prophesied to appear. Ishamael manipulates the ruler of the Seanchan and brings him the Horn of Valere as a gift. Some time has passed since Rand left his friends. Mat is captured by Liandrin after the previous season and is now played by a different actor. The darkness still haunts the guy, but he's not a threat. For several months he sits in a dungeon, and trying to get out, he breaks a passage in the wall. That's how he meets his cellmate named Min, the same innkeeper from the previous season who could see people's futures. She also sees Mat's future, where he kills Rand with the very same dagger from Season 1. However, Min and Mat get along and agree to get out of this fortress someday. Soon Liandrin lets Mat go, deeming him useless, and orders Min to keep an eye on him. It turns out all this time she has been working for a sorceress. She suffers from her gift of foresight, and the Red Aya has promised to rid her of it if she obeys. After that, Min and Mat head away from the White Tower. Perrin, along with the other Shienarians, sets out to find the Horn of Valere, which has been stolen by the Dark One's servants. However, they are soon attacked by the Seanchan, and the warlike nation takes them prisoner. On the way, the convoy is attacked by wolves and frees Perrin. He meets Elias, who like Perrin can communicate with wolves. Wolfbrother wants to take the man to safety, but Perrin goes in search of his friends. Along the way, he stumbles upon a settlement that is controlled by Whitecloaks. He rescues an alien woman named Avienda from captivity. Together, they travel onward, meet 2 more alien women, and eventually reach the city of Falme. Egwene and Nynaeve have returned to the White Tower and begun their training to become Aes Sedai. Although Egwene is one of the strongest sorceresses in centuries, Nynaeve is far superior and comparable to the Dragon Reborn herself. However, she doesn't know how to control magic in a meaningful way. Red Aya Liandrin wants to take Nynaeve as her apprentice, but in order to do so, she must pass a test and become an accepted. The test involves going in and out of 3 arches. On the other side, she encounters what she fears most: It is not a hallucination, and if she cannot find her way out, she will stay on the other side forever. Nynaeve goes through 2 arches, but in the 3rd she stays, as she has become a mother and all her friends are with her. Meanwhile, Egwene meets another novice named Elaine, and it turns out that she is a princess who was sent to the tower to become an Aes Sedai. They soon learn that Nynaeve never returned from the arches. Egwene doesn't want to leave her friend behind and tries to get her out of there. At this time, Nynaeve has been living on the other side for years, but suddenly they are attacked by Trollocs and kill everyone. A passage suddenly appears and Nynaeve does make it out of the archway, having completed her trial. Except that something like this has left a wound in her soul. Soon Nynaeve learns that Perrin has been captured by the Seanchan. She informs Egwene, and they decide to leave the tower to rescue their friend. Princess Elaine follows them, but as soon as they leave the tower, they are met by Liandra. She knocks the women out and carries them across the paths. We learn that Liandrin has gone over to the dark side. It turns out Ishamael ordered her to send the 3 young women closer to Falme, the very city where the Dragon Reborn is prophesied to manifest. And it is also where the Forsaken ordered Mat to be sent. It was Ishamael who promised to rid Min of her gift. The villain's plan is to lure Rand's friends to the dark side or kill them. Then the Dragon Reborn will fall into despair and swear an oath to darkness, and will end up destroying the entire world. Meanwhile, a trio of young women come to their senses in Seanchan territory. Nynaeve and Elaine manage to escape, but Egwene is caught. She is put in a special collar and sent to jail. The Seanchan have a special relationship with female sorcerers. They use them as weapons, but first they are brutally trained. These collars prevent them from harming their masters, as well as from even thinking of escaping. For a while, Egwene is tortured and becomes a weapon in the service of the Seanchan. Meanwhile, Nynaeve and Elaine get to Falme and try to figure out a way to free their friend. In the previous season, Moiraine lost her powers, but is still trying to help the reborn dragon defeat the Dark One in some way. She asks for help from her 2 Aes Sedai friends, Adeleas and Varen, but doesn't tell them exactly what she's doing. As a reminder, if the Aes Sedai find a man who can channel, his connection to the Force is severed. However, by the end of the season, Adeleas and Varen realize that Moiraine has found the Dragon Reborn and take her side. Meanwhile, Rand has settled far away from the White Tower and is trying to find a way to become stronger. He learns swordsmanship and eventually finds the same false dragon from the first season, from whom he wants to learn how to control his powers. The dragon gives him important advice that such power cannot be controlled. It can only be succumbed to. Soon Rand realizes that all this time he has been manipulated from the shadows by Moiraine. It was she who guided the boy and brought him to this town to meet the false dragon and learn from him. Meanwhile, Rand meets the local innkeeper and feelings develop between them. One night the boy's powers get out of control and he burns down his dwelling. They head out of town with the innkeeper, but Moiraine appears and stabs the woman through with a sword. Aes Sedai reveals that the woman is actually one of the renegades named Lanfear. It turns out Ishamael freed her earlier to watch over Rand. There's no way to just kill her, so the main characters escape and head to Moiraine's named estate. She soon realizes that the Dark One's servants don't want to kill Rand for some reason. After reading the old book, she realizes that Lanfear was in love with the previous incarnation of the dragon, and she doesn't really fully believe in the Dark One's ideals. She just wants to be with Rand. Yet Lanfear remains an incredibly dangerous and ruthless sorceress. After the main characters escaped from Lanfear, Moiraine forbade Rand to sleep, as the Forsaken has a unique ability to penetrate into other people's dreams and control them. She can also kill a person in this way. Now Moiraine suggests that Rand contact her through a dream and find out what she wants. Rand falls asleep, and she confirms that she was in love with the previous dragon. She actually wants to protect him from Ishamael, and offers to show him how his friends are doing. This is how Rand learns that Egwene is being held captive by the Seanchan in Falme. He asks Lanfear to help free her, and she agrees, but he has to get away from Moiraine. So he actually does. Soon he meets Mat and invites him to go to Falme together. Mat first agrees, But after hearing from Min that he will kill Rand there with a dagger, he decides not to go. However, the Dark One's servants catch him, and he ends up in Falme after all. Rand waits for Mat at the agreed-upon location, but Friend doesn't show up, so he goes alone. Soon he is caught and taken to Siwan Sanche, who knows that he is the Dragon Reborn. The leader of the Aes Sedai informs him that she will not let him act on his own, and will turn him into a weapon with which they will defeat the Dark One. The sorceresses lock Rand in a dungeon, but he is soon freed by Moiraine and her Aes Sedai friends. All this time, Lan has been trying to figure out what happened to Moraine's powers, because it all looks like she wasn't completely cut off from the Force. And it turns out he was right. Ishamael can be said to have sealed her up in a way that no one even realized. Rand breaks the seal, and the main characters decide to go to Falme through the paths. Siwan Sanche tries to stop them, but then Lan Fayar shows up and helps the main characters escape. However, she drops Lan and Moiraine near the city, and teleports with Rand to the right place. Ishamael realizes that Lanfear has betrayed him, as the plan is not yet complete, and he will not have time to lure Rand to the side of darkness. Ishamael gives Mat the very dagger he is not supposed to touch. Mat realizes it's a trap, and comes up with a plan to escape using this weapon that can cut through any material. Finally, all the characters gather in Falme. Just then, the White Cloaks attack the city to take it back. There are battles in the streets, and the Seanchan send their sorceress slaves to a tower to fire on the White Cloaks. It is on this tower that Egwene finds herself. She finally figures out how to deal with the collar and kills her torturers. Meanwhile, Rand rushes to Egwene's aid and kills the ruler of the Seanchan. Climbing up, he meets Ishamael, and the villain, with the help of the Seanchan sorceresses, subdues Rand. In the heat of battle, Elaine and Nynaeve try to find Egwene. Perrin meets his friends in arms, who at this time have stolen the chest containing the Horn of Valere. During the battle, Perrin kills the White Cloak commander, and his son Dain sees who did it. Mat soon meets Perrin, and they use a dagger to retrieve the Horn of Valere from a chest. While the others fight the Seanchan warriors, Mat runs with the horn to Rand. However, there are too many enemies, and he has to use it himself. At that moment, legendary warriors from the past appear and fight at his side. And Mat himself awakens the memories of his past lives. When he gets to the tower, he wants to kill Ishamael with a dagger, but it was just an illusion, and he seriously wounds Rand. The dragon seems to have lost, but then the rest of the main characters show up and defend their friend. While Elaine and Nynaeve heal Rand, Egwene and Perrin hold back the villain's magic. Rand regains consciousness and stabs Ishamael with a blade imbued with magic. At this time, Moiraine sees the main character's victory from afar. She realizes that she can play along with the prophecy. Aes Sedai creates a fiery dragon that towers over Rand, and all the people in the city realize that the dragon has returned. In the final frames of the episode, we see Lanfear enter Ishamael's chambers and see the broken seals of the Forsaken. One of them, Moghedien, appears and tells Lanfear that Ishamael has guessed her betrayal. That is why he awakened them all. This is the end of the second season. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and click the like button. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.